a very active member on this committee who cares deeply about the veterans in Vermont. The gentleman from Vermont, Mr. Welch, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses. Dr. Stone, I really thought what you just said about the community that you grew up in versus the community that veterans are returning to really is compelling. You know, in Vermont, during Iraq and Afghanistan, our loss of combat casualties was on a per capita basis the highest in the country for quite a period of time. And now we have the highest suicide rate. And one of the things, you know, visiting with families, they're incredibly proud of their service. And these soldiers who go over, and they're everyday Americans who do great things, but they have all the challenges that all of us have. When they're over in Iraq or Afghanistan, they have this unit cohesion. There is a sense of incredible solidarity where it's all about helping their battlefield comrades. And then they come back to Vermont in some rural community and no one knows they were even gone. You know, there's no, we don't raise taxes to pay for wars. We don't have a draft. So it's people who volunteer, and it's an incredible experience for them serving their country and feeling that solidarity of doing something with others. How in the world can any organization, I a lot of times think we expect too much of the Veterans Administration. I mean, creating that sense of community that you described is what ultimately helps all of us get through those tough times. But if it's not there, how do we address that contradiction?
I think you hit the key issue, sir. And the key issue is how do we build resilience amongst all of us? And the answer is the military is excellent about building cohesion between very small formations and very small groups, regardless of what faith we come from or what background we come from. It's about cohesion and really preparing the service member for the transition to a community that will feel foreign to them as they come out is what we need to work on more effectively. And
so does it make sense to do a lot more like what Mr. Cloud was talking about, where there's a lot of people in the community that just make it their business to try to be there and interact with the veterans? And you know, my sense is that the best person to talk to a veteran is another veteran.
And we agree with that.
Dr. Franklin?
But do not underestimate the fact that just being there for a veteran has value, even if you didn't serve, and picking up the phone and calling a veteran that might be in need. We have a program called Be There for exactly that reason, and I'll defer to Dr. Franklin.
Oh, this is such a good line of questioning and discussion because as we move forward in the VA, one of the things we're trying to do is I call it broad sector engagement, but it basically defines making sure that we're touching every sector where a veteran works, lives, and thrives, not just where they get their health care. And so if we think about the state of Vermont and we think about where veterans go to school, where do they go, university sectors, and are they prepared to engage with veterans who might be at risk of suicide? And the first responders in the state of Vermont, is every fireman ready to help us, whether they're a veteran themselves, because we know that many of our military become first responders, or they're responding to a veteran at risk. Are they prepared and ready to help them? Does every hospital in the state of Vermont know what to do when it comes to the screening protocols that my colleague to my left spoke about? Does every hospital know to implement the Columbia protocol when it comes to universal screening, not just the VA hospital, but do our libraries, do our people that receive veterans everywhere they go?
What about kind of low, I appreciate that,
Yes.
low-tech support? You know, we had a program when our National Guard's men and women were deployed. The Guard got some funding from Congress to set up a program to provide on-the-spot support so that when the family was running low on heating fuel in the winter, they knew they could make a call and make it happen. But when that veteran comes back, if they don't have anybody to check in with them unsolicited, that's going to make it tough. And, you know, it's a little late to, I mean, you got to, having all the protocols in place is one thing, but you want to have some human interaction. I think that's what you're saying, Dr. Stone, that's sort of organic to the community. Captain Colston, what do you? What do you say about a low-tech approach where we put
Oh,
veterans
absolutely.
to work?
And I'd add that the community is a huge part of this. In my experience, MSOs and VSOs are a big part of fixing this problem. I know in Gurnee, Illinois, in Milwaukee, in Bonita Springs, Florida, there's an awful lot of life around veterans' lives because of those MSOs and VSOs. And I think that it's really important that we partner with those groups.